Welcome to the Buck Brief, back by popular demand. Our friend Kurt Schlichter, Colonel Kurt, that's right. He is a colonel, full bird. Whoa, big time in the United States military, United States Army. That's right. He's also an author. The Attack is his novel, which is selling very well. He's a very good thriller writer. Recommend you check it out. He's a senior columnist at townhall.com. He's a patriot, and he says things that would get most people in trouble. So here he is on the show, which gets me excited. Let's start with this. I have a feeling I know where you're going to go with this. I have a feeling your answer is going to be like Conan and Conan the Barbarian when they ask him what is best, and he's like, drive your enemy before you hear the lamentations of their women.
Conan, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of your women. That is good. That is good.
I think that's going to happen when you answer this question. But in the scorched earth versus focus on policy debate to beat Kamala, where do you fall down and why?
Well, first of all, I want to chastise Arnold Schwarzenegger, my former terrible governor, for misgendering and assuming the gender of those who would be lamenting.
That's true. It's fair.
But yeah, look, I believe in mutually assured destruction, which means we have to assure destruction. If they're going to initiate new rules, Buck, we need to play by them, and we need to play by them up and down the ladder. That means people at the top. That means people at the bottom. Because if you don't, Buck, if you don't fight back, you're not protecting your own people. When did Republicans become against retribution and punishment? I always thought law and order, you do something wrong, you suffer for it, maybe you don't do it in the future, but even if you are a recidivist, you should suffer for it. You should suffer some justice. And when did we become against that? When it got hard, when we'd have to be mean, Buck, when it's not nice. Jeez, these people.
That's what I thought. That was the Kurt Schlichter response that I was looking for here. I try to remind everybody, and I've made a point of it in recent weeks on radio to tell everybody, it's not just that Kamala is sort of absurd in a lot of ways, right? This is not somebody who is good at anything. It is as though we picked any random college diversity educator or corporate diversity coordinator from anywhere in the country. She's like a woman who's entirely unremarkable, except for being a woman and being a woman of mixed ancestry, right? No one ever. Can I just also ask you a question? I mean, my brother-in-law is of South Asian descent. Notice how she's referred to as the first, would-be first black female president. No one even deigns to mention that she's as much the first South Asian. You know what I'm saying? There's it's almost like there's this effort to create a brand here that isn't, I don't know, reflective of the full reality.
She is whatever she needs to be. And the reason we laugh at it is because it's meaningless. I don't care where your grandfather came from. It's of zero interest to me. It's a fetish for them. And it's frankly not the kind of country that I want to be in. Now, one of the greatest achievements in the United States was that they took a majority ethnic group, generically white Americans, and made them not an ethnic group. White Americans didn't think, oh, I'm white, I vote for this party. That's a huge triumph. Where instead of voting based on your race, you vote based on your ideology. I mean, that's a great thing to have happen, because I know I've spent time in the Balkans. You would have a Serb village over here and an Albanian village over here, and they'd live together for hundreds of years, and then they go out and murder each other. Okay, so America was awesome because it did that, and then people like Kamala Harris want to throw it away for short-term political advantage. I can start making my race the most important thing. Well, the problem is everybody's going to do that, and it's a bad idea, and I don't want you to do that. Don't do that. Don't ruin my country for your ambition, you horrible communist wench.
And I will say this: I've also been talking about on the show that it's I got sidetracked because there's so much to say about Kamala Harris and the
I
media.
know, right?
We'll get into this in a second because
all tangents.
It's so many. The speed of the propaganda, like, nothing that they're saying right now is a shock, but the speed of it. I mean, you just get the sense that the assembly lines, if they were making donuts before that were coming in, commie propaganda donuts day in and day out, the donuts are flying off the assembly. I mean, it's just, they're shooting like a 5.56 round across the room. Like they're flying off the conveyor belts. I just, the other part of this though, she's not a good person. And I don't just say this about, and I'm not even, I know, and people talk about the Willie Brown stuff, whatever. I actually think that I don't think anyone's going to care. I mean, you can totally, by the way, Clay and I disagree on this. So Kurt, it's not like.
I think there are some people who care.
Yeah. I mean,
I care.
It
makes me think less of her. And keep in mind, I grew up near San Francisco. So that's kind of, where I come from. There's been a lot of disagreement about that. And I don't think, I think it's an important line of attack, but not the most important. Every message should be delivered, but not every message should be delivered by every messenger. I don't want to see Trump talking about it, but I don't mind surrogates talking about it, because there are people out there, Buck, who are going to go, I really don't like the way that she started out by, tramping around with Willie Brown, and that makes me think less of her. Okay. That's their choice. They get to pick what they think is.
See, I worry.
I think tactically it's the best attack, but it's an attack.
I would say my concern on that, and again, we're getting sidetracked. I haven't even gotten my primary point.
I know, right?
I know, right? We could do this all day. It's almost like it's almost like we're content guys, radio hosts. I would say
exactly.
I worry that, and I know this, it's not rational, but it doesn't have to be rational to have the effect they want. That attacking Kamala for what she did sexually a long time ago, there are some women who we might be able, maybe to consider voting Trump, who might start to take that a little personally or start to buy into some of the misogyny lines that are going to be used. Basically, vote for Kamala it is gaslighting. She didn't say what she said. She's not a communist. She doesn't want to ban fracking. Yeah. I mean, if you ban fracking, the country would go into the Great Depression. I keep telling you, 60% of our oil is fracked.
That's not a problem for her, though. She doesn't care.
Yeah.
Poor people are easier to govern than prosperous ones.
The other part of it, the other side of it is, I think, just the moral blackmail. All Democrats will vote for her because she's a woman and she's black. Although, as I keep pointing out, I mean, she's actually a person of mixed ancestry. She has a black parent. She has a South Asian parent. And we never get to hear about the South Asian parent, which I'm just like, why? Anyway, for me, those are the two things that are going to happen, but they're going to try to morally blackmail people on the race and gender thing. Like, if you don't vote for Kamala, you're a bigot and you're a sexist. Now, that doesn't, you and I think that is funny, right? Like when people would try to blackmail us with that sort of talk. I don't know, though. Normies, you got to think of the normies out there.
I've been out of California for a while. I'm heading back to California soon, but I've been staying in Texas, and not in a super conservative area. So I've been talking to normal people, and what's interesting is they've been paying attention to how they've been lied to, Buck. They've been lied to about Joe Biden. They've been lied to about was Donald Trump hit by shrapnel or glass from his teleprompter? COVID, your booster. And they're getting a little salty. And I don't know if the racial tutting is going to work the way it used to. I think a lot of them are tired of being, well, first of all, they figured out no matter what you do, they're going to call you a racist. No matter what you do, yes. When HR holds a diversity meeting, if you are not one of the approved race, ethnic, genders, identities, you're going to be the designated villain. I think they've seen this all baloney, and they're tired of it, and I don't think it's working anymore. I think the kind of people who would vote for Kamala Harris because of her exterior genitalia and the alleged ancestry of her relatives are not people who would ever vote for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance ever for any reason. So I am disinclined to spend any time caring what they think or say.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't going to win the cat ladies anyway. And can I just also point out,
we're going to win the cat ladies anyway. And
this is like, you can't make fun of it. Even some conservatives are like, well, I have a cat and I have 5 kids. I'm like,
God,
yeah, well,
stop.
I'm like, no one's talking.
You've got to stop. Stop with this tone policing.
I know.
Okay, there are no enemies to your right.
There's a lot of this.
You don't like somebody talking about cat ladies, here's the idea. Shut up or tell it to your cat.
Kurt, we get people that write in or call in or get mad at me because I'll say, these blue-haired communists, and people say like, well, like I'm a 85-year-old lifetime conservative, and I think the blue hair.
I'm like, then you're not talking about her.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I'm not saying
like, look,
blue hair as in like elderly people. I'm talking about people that dye their hair bright blue because they're out of their minds.
We cannot govern our lives trying to not to give offense to people who are too stupid to know when they're being insulted or not. Okay, so when J.D. Vance is talking about childless cat ladies, we know exactly what he's talking about. And he's not talking about that conservative influencer who had to use IVF. And there are people who've used IVF in my family. I'm not against IVF. No conservatives against, we have very few conservatives are against IVF. Some are, and they have a right to make their point. I just happen to disagree. But
yeah, I disagree too. And let me just go on the record and say about for those conservatives, because some of them get a little like, this is the way it needs to be. And this is, I want to say like, really? Because sometimes IVF is done for people to avoid severe genetic disorders that can be detected before pregnancy. I'm not talking about, so I would want to know, do these influencers want to go up to somebody and say, you know what, like, it would be better. Like, God wanted your kid to have cystic fibrosis. You shouldn't have.
Hey, I can respect. Yeah, there were arguments I disagree with. I can respect somebody who says, hey, I'm against the death penalty because I don't think the government can be trusted to have somebody's life and death in their hands. Now, I disagree with that, but I don't think that's crazy or even stupid. I just disagree. With IVF, if somebody says, hey, it results in the death of a lot of fertilized eggs, which I consider, because of my religious teachings to be life, so I'm against it. Okay, I get that. I don't think you're crazy or a bad person. I just disagree with you because I have another point of view. I don't think you're a bad person. You shouldn't think I'm a bad person.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. But I haven't even gotten to why Kamala is a bad person, by the way, which you have reminded. But we have to pay some bills here. Hold on a sec. Got to keep the lights on. 1 second, Kurt. Drink some coffee. Look, Porter Stansberry's been a good friend of mine for a decade. The guy's brilliant, and he just starting from his own college dorm room back in the 90s, built a financial research company that's the best out there. And he did something really interesting last year. He cut his salary to $1 a year. He's the CEO of a publicly traded company that does hundreds of millions of dollars a year in revenue. Why would he cut his own salary to $1? Well, he thinks there's a better way to save and get paid. And he wants you to know about it so you can take the same approach. You can do the same thing. He calls it a secret currency. It's not Bitcoin. It's not crypto. All you have to do to learn about this, and Porter wants to tell you all about it himself, is watch this detailed presentation from Porter Stansberry, secretcurrency2024.com. That's secretcurrency2024.com. I don't think you're going to see this talked about or laid out for you like this anywhere else. Secretcurrency2024.com. Okay, I want to give this to you to let you run with it, Kurt. But I have to bring this up. Kamala Harris, we mock her a lot on the right. We talk about, what could be unburdened by what has been. And she says that in every speech. It's just bizarre. What she did and spearheaded against Brett Kavanaugh is one of the most disgusting and disgraceful things I have ever seen in politics. I don't even know if I could think of something. In some ways, the turning point, I think, for a lot of conservatives to become more wartime conservatives in their thinking, politically speaking, was if they're willing to ritually denigrate, humiliate, and try to destroy a manifestly innocent man with absurd sex crime allegations, which is what they did against Kavanaugh, they'll do anything, right? This is what I kept saying at the time. I was like, they would do this to your brother. They'd do this to your dad. They don't care. Doesn't matter how innocent they are. They can know that he's innocent, and they did, and they would do it anyway. To me, all the evidence we need that Kamala's a terrible person.
Well, she is a terrible person, and she, there are lots of terrible people. The problem is she is a terrible person who can influence the way our society works. The problem is we're knocking down norms. There used to be a time, for instance, you would be able to rely on undisputed facts from the past, like Kamala has been appointed the border czar. It's literally there in writing. There are people saying it. And it becomes inconvenient. So suddenly it can be eliminated. Though they know it's the truth. We know it's the truth. When you can't rely on any means of argument, if you can't have an argument because the facts can be changed as they become inconvenient. What do you have left to resolve disputes? There are only two ways. You can either argue about them and figure them out in a political process, or you can use power. And they are not, they're not reluctant to use power. Look at all the innocent J6 people who've been persecuted, as opposed to the rioters from that, for instance, that Hamas rally when she ditched out on America's
to follow up on
ally.
this. To follow up on this,
yeah.
I remember hearing, oh my gosh, like you can't attack law enforcement. It's an assault on democracy and all this stuff. And I was saying the whole time, I agree. You can't attack law enforcement. Okay. You're not allowed to attack law enforcement.
Yeah, I think attacking law enforcement is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Generally.
But that then has to be and should be the law, right?
Yeah.
And that includes also barring disparate treatment, as in, I like this person who attacked a cop, so they don't pay a price. And I don't like this person, J6 protesters in the case of the left, so they pay the most severe price. The lunatics who were manhandling, pushing, and punching cops at the outside of Union Square recently, or Union Station down in D.C. for that like anti-Israel stuff, which these people are all psychos anyway. Charges were dropped against them, Kurt. Charges were dropped.
Look. You either have a rule-based society where you argue about things and then come to a decision through political processes, or you have the exercise of raw power. Now, I can live with the first. I want the first one. I want a rule of law government, but I can live with the exercise of power because I intend it to be our side exercising the power. I don't want that. But the one option that doesn't exist, the one option that it's dying on a pile of hot brass, is them ruling over us purely through power. I refuse to live as a slave. I am a citizen. I will live as a citizen. If need be, I will die as a citizen. I don't have any choice about it. Ear to you, we both took an oath to defend this country. You when you joined the CIA, me when I joined the Army, became a commissioned officer. I am morally obligated to fight to the death to protect our Constitution. And I will if I have to. And so will millions of other people. Let's not do that, though. Let's abide by the Constitution, abide by norms. Let's have a media that's not a regime media. Let's do this right, because we're not going to simply go, oh, this whole being a citizen, being free thing, it was nice while it lasted. I guess I'm a serf now.
Yeah.
On the cards.
I want to talk about Bear Creek Arsenal for a second. It's our sponsor in this segment. Bear Creek Arsenal is a phenomenal firearms maker. We're just talking about your right to defend yourself, your right to be a citizen, your right to bear arms is central to that. And Bear Creek Arsenal, unlike some of the gun companies out there, Kurt, do you know this? There are gun companies that will not advertise on conservative media because they're worried about raising their profile and agitating the Biden administration. That's a real thing. Isn't that crazy? They're like, that's
shameful.
It's shameful.
That's shameful.
Shameful. And I won't name them, but I can tell you this. Bear Creek Arsenal isn't one of them. They stand with conservatives like me, like this show, and others too, and they believe in the Second Amendment. They believe in the right to bear arms. We should support them. They make great rifles, great sidearms, a great upper receivers. Their website is like a candy store for gun enthusiasts. Okay, it's amazing. Go to BearCreekArsenal.com. Use promo code Buck for 10% off your first order. Trust me on this one. Once you see the value and the quality of their firearms, meaning the price and how well they perform, this is going to be your favorite firearms manufacturer out there. BearCreekArsenal.com, promo code Buck for 10% off your first order. Exclusions do apply. Kurt, before we adjourn this session, we'll do this again soon because we got an election coming up and we got a lot of things. We got to beat the communists. So, The Attack, your book. Give everybody a little teaser, a little précis, and they can go get a copy of it.
The Attack is a novel about a October 7th style attack in the United States in the very near future. How it would happen, how it would go down, how we can fight back. It is scary. People tell me, some of the attack. It's a hard book. There's some humor in it because I'm Kurt Schlichter, and there's some funny stuff in it, but it is a tough book. I talk to guys like you. I talk to a lot of other folks who have knowledge in this area. I try to make it as realistic as possible without giving away anything that those guys haven't already thought of. And they've thought of all the stuff I talk about. I put it together in one place. The Attack. It is a highly readable book. It's not a Bataan Death March. It's a good story. And people have been responding very, very well. I have sold boatloads of this book. And gosh, I hope people read it and vote accordingly.
Kurt Schlichter, everybody, the man himself. Kurt, always an honor. Thank you, sir. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.